Good morning, everybody. Thought you might like another reading of my book, The Chicken Shop Incident. My book. It's from a chapter called Thames War 2004, The Golden Age. It's about a little stay in hospital. I think it's quite funny. After coming out of Harrow, I was transferred back to Dennis Scott Unit in Edgware and put on Thames Ward. I remember walking in with my guitar and bag and immediately being approached by a young man called Keith, who I had met here the first time of being admitted, and who wanted me to play Oasis songs. "Oh, cool man, we can jam," he said with excitement. I immediately began strumming the chords to Wonderwall. A skeletal type of man whose t-shirt was pulled up around his back and shoulders skulked around the corridors barefooted. His name was Graham. A short, pink-faced, bald man stood smiling in glasses by one of the doors. His name was Patrick. After I was shown my room, I came into the smoking room. Here, a large, bald Iranian man was sitting, not smoking, and looked like Plato. His name was Maya. From the smoking room, I could see into the TV lounge, where a small Indian woman was sitting next to a large Muslim woman. "I used to be a genius," said Maya. "Yeah, I can believe that," I replied. Keith appeared in the room and asked for a cigarette. I gave him a cigarette. "Why are you so bold?" said Keith to Maya with a comical tone. "I'll fucking kill you," said Maya to Keith with a touch less comedy. "I'll do kung fu on you," Keith threatened with a maneuver an appropriate vocal cry. "Maybe I'll beat some hair on your head." Maya got angry, jumped up from his seat and booted Keith in the arse. "You bastard," he shouted, "I'll kill you." I was trying my best not to laugh, and then a nurse came in and asked what was going on. "They are teasing me," cried Maya. The nurse escorted him out of the room and Keith nursed his arse. Dinner time was announced, and having finished my fag, I went into the hall. Graham was stalking around and was trying to hug me. He would walk towards me as though he was a zombie, and I'd scuttle off a few steps and look over my shoulder as though I was scared, and this process would repeat several times. Graham wasn't retarded, but was waiting for his medication to kick in, which would take a week or so his speech was slurred, and he looked at you with his head tilted on one side. "He liked that game you were playing," said Patrick about Graham. "Yes, that was a good game." In the dining room, all the patients sat quietly at tables eating their particular meals. "I'm beginning to suspect that there was a higher power," called Maya in his Indian accent. He was sitting at the back of the room next to a Jewish guy whose name was Moshi. Moshi muttered some words of agreement. Later in the TV lounge, a small Indian lady sat with a large Muslim woman. I walked in and said, "Do you ladies believe in God?" "Oh, yes, yes," they replied. "Then it's time for us to pray," I said. "Repeat after me." "Oh God." "Oh God," repeated the ladies. "Oh God, God, God," I continued. "Oh God, God, God," said the ladies with a smile. "Oh Goddy, God, 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 Goddy, God, God, God." There came some humid mumbles from the ladies. "Oh Goddy, God, 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 Goddy, Goddy, God, God, Goddy, God, God, please, please, God, please." The ladies smiled. "Amen," I cried. There was a new girl on the ward a day or so later. She sat in the smoking room with two children and a black dude. Hannah, as she was called, had just tried to jump in front of a train. She was a short girl with strawberry blonde hair and spoke with a rasp. Hannah would become friends with a woman called Debbie, who at first I thought was a nurse and was always on her phone, and was a bespectacled Jewish woman in her late 30s, and introduced herself as a consultant. One night Debbie bought Chinese for everybody and even sent some in a cab to Hannah's mother. Debbie was convinced I had an Oedipal complex. One night we sat watching TV and she stroked my arm the entire time, like she was my mother. I think she thought she was my mother. Debbie, Hannah, Keith and I were in the smoking room one night. There was talk of someone having an ecstasy pill. "Perhaps we should take it," I said, "and sit here fucked," I suggested. You know what I mean, said Keith animatedly. We didn't have that ecstasy pill. I don't know what happened to that, but we sat there in the smoking room one night, and it was as if we were on ecstasy, chatting and joking. I remember Debbie smiling at me with relief, and every time I smiled at her. Debbie sort of fell in love with me, I think. I turned to Keith. You, I said, are a wise philosopher. Keith's eyebrows raised. You, I went on, are a great teacher. His eyes became soft with amusement. You, I continued in response to his look, are a wise and great teacher of philosophy. Keith couldn't help but grin with happiness, and I continued to flatter him for some 10 or 15 minutes with every different combination of the words wise, great, teacher, philosopher, and any others I could think to add. I remember Keith's impressed and flattered expression. One night in the TV lounge on a Saturday night, I think, I watched some game show and Maya was in the room and some others were there. You know, he began suddenly, my balls are very embarrassing. Are they? I said. Very big, very embarrassing. Silence. You know, said Maya, if my balls were fruit, they would be plums. Very big they are. Really? I said. Very big they are, my balls. Very big. Silence. You know, said Maya after a moment, in 2 minutes' time the world will be made of pure pink. Oh, pure pink, I asked. What makes you say that? Because everything will be made of pure pink. Everything will be made of pink. Silence. You know, said Maya, these men on television are very attractive. They are like flowers to me. Are they? I said. Very attractive, very attractive. Do you think you could be having a sexuality crisis? I said. They are very attractive, very attractive. More silence. You know, this man on television right now, said Maya, he's like a star man. Everyone in the room laughed. Buy the hardcover, the hardback. You won't be disappointed, it's very lovely.